Continuing on our journey from the MCU's Phase 1 and our road to Avengers Doomsday, we got Thor. I talked about Iron Man, I talked about the Incredible Hulk, and I talked about Iron Man 2, and today I'm talking about Thor. Now, just a heads up, I have finished every single movie inside of Phase 1. I watched the first Avenger, I watched the Avengers, I even watched Iron Man 3. There will be reviews within this week, or within the next 2 weeks, and then at the end of those reviews, I will be ranking the MCU's Phase 1. That is something that I will be doing. So, if you haven't checked out my thoughts on Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2, I'd encourage you to go check out those thoughts. Come back here to watch my thoughts on Thor. I am now rewatching every single movie inside the MCU, giving my reviews before we get to December, where we are going to get Avengers Doomsday. Now, I have had very fond memories of Thor. I grew up Thor being some of the only Marvel movies that aren't Avengers movies that I was allowed to watch. Yet again, I was raised in a very Christian household, still am Christian, but that means I couldn't watch the Iron Man, Captain America movies until I turned about 13 or 14. So the Thor movies are the only movies I was really allowed to check out besides some of the Avengers movies and the Incredible Hulk until I turned about 13 years old. And so I have very fond memories of this movie, which breaks my heart to say Thor's awful. Thor is a pretty terrible movie. But hey, before I go any further, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell. Comment down below, what are your opinions on Thor? And if you haven't seen it, if you're watching along with the MCU with me, are you a fan of Thor? I want to know all that and more. And with that said, there are some moments in Thor that I think are decent. The first act, and really the entire movie, has some very visually interesting sequences. Asgard, I think, looks pretty good. Not perfect, but it looks good. I think the Destroyer looks really great. The Frost Giants look cool. The creature, when they go to the Frost Giants' realm in the beginning of the movie, and really that whole sequence, the movie can be pretty visually interesting. Along those same lines, I think the cast in the movie obviously is quite good. You got Chris Hemsworth, who, alongside the entire MCU, is one of the best castings inside of the MCU. But you also got Tom Hiddleston as Loki, who is just awesome, especially the longer the universe goes. You also got Natalie Portman, Stellan Skarsgård in here, two, I believe, Oscar-winning performers who are just in here in the Thor movie. And so it's got a pretty great cast. The fish out of water stuff with Thor, when he gets to Earth, it's very brief inside the movie, but I still have enough fun with that. I still get a good chuckle when he takes the can and smashes it on the ground and screams for another. I really hope there wasn't any more liquid in that, because I could have just spilt it on my carpet floor. There wasn't, thank goodness. But I still get a really good chuckle out of that. Besides that, I think that that's it for the positives here in Thor. Movie's not good. And we'll just start off the negatives by saying Thor has no idea what it possibly wants to be. I have no idea what Thor wants to be. It wants to be a fish-out-of-water comedy about finding who you really are. It wants to be a big fantasy adventure in another universe. It wants to be a big action movie. It wants to take other moments from the rest of the MCU and kind of combine them in there. That's why we get Hawkeye shoved in there. It wants to be a romance film. And not a single piece of the movie works for me. Not a single piece is fleshed out enough. And a lot of people like the romance between Thor and Jane Foster. I used to dig that romance, but after watching this movie, I do not buy it whatsoever. Let's go down this film and the events that have happened in the movie in its order. So, the movie starts off with Thor, he's cocky, he's arrogant, Loki convinces him to go attack the Frost Giants. He does, he gets banished from Asgard, lands on Earth, is on Earth for about 3 days? Maybe at most. It might be even less than that. And he goes to Jane Foster and Stellan Skarsgård and makes friends for life, but that doesn't make sense because what happens is she hits him with the van, he goes to the hospital, they let him out, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm Thor, and they're like, oh, you're changing our life for some reason, and Thor goes off, does some weird wacky stuff. What they could know is he's saying he's Thor, they're buying into it, but anybody with half a brain in real life would think that that's just a crackhead. He's an insane crackhead, but he does these crazy things like smashing glasses, walking into pet stores, demanding a horse. Clearly something about him is just not right. And Jane Foster starts to attract feelings for him because he's got big muscles. Yeah, big muscly guy who's absolutely insane. They start to get feelings, and she's all like, you changed my life for the better. And no matter what he does that is just bizarre and insane, at one point, with the hammer inside the shield base, he breaks in and starts beating up a bunch of federal agents, and she just believes every word he says. There's no proof that he gives her that Thor is real, except about halfway, maybe 3/4 through the film when the Destroyer shows up. Yeah, there could be the hammer there, but like any crackhead could wander in there, attack some federal agents, and say the hammer's his, specifically if he doesn't pick it up. There is no proof, and I just do not buy the romance, specifically because all of this happens within the course of 3 days, and she just doesn't care. She just falls for him because he's got big muscles. Insane. And so, not only is just the character drama and the romance, you just do not find it compelling whatsoever, but even when you get to the action sequences that are supposed to be cool, they're not. You get Thor breaking in on the shield area, trying to get his hammer, and it's just so dark and so just shaky cam action where you can't see a single thing. And you get Hawkeye in there, and it's just like a bunch of random stuff happening that doesn't make sense. And it's just one of the worst action sequences I've seen inside of the entire MCU. But then you get the action with the Destroyer, which is just so unbelievably campy. You get the final fight sequence with Thor and Loki, and it's just all shot well. It's edited absolutely in a terrible manner, and you just can't see anything. Speaking of the cinematography, where you can't see anything and it just looks bad, Dutch angles. Oh my gosh. I don't mind Dutch angles if there's like 1 or 2 of them within a movie. But every single scene, every single establishing shot, every single shot with a character talking, there is like 1 billion Dutch shots in this movie. And it is just so distracting. That is just the most distracting thing possible for any movie to do, because it's like the movie's trying to be super creative and niche, but it just gets so annoying by the camera angles it chooses, and it's just something that is so unbelievably distracting. So we got the romance that doesn't work, the action sequences that are boring. I will say, I think the Frost Giant action sequence is okay, especially with the big creature. The hand-to-hand combat is edited just so terrible, you can't tell what's going on, but the big creature was cool, but the action sequences are bad. Let's talk about Loki's plot, which Loki's villain plot makes absolutely 0 sense. Let me run you down through his plot, right? So, his plot is to convince Thor to go attack the Frost Giants, and so he does. Thor gets kicked out of Asgard. Loki's like, oh, cool. Now I'm going to try to be king. So he goes to the Frost Giant area, learns he's a Frost Giant baby. He goes, he tells his father, he puts his father in the Odin sleep or whatever, the big coma that he has. He tells Thor that he's dead. He tells the Frost Giants it's okay to attack. All of a sudden, the Frost Giants come to attack and kill his father. He kills the Frost Giants, and then after he kills the Frost Giants, he goes to destroy the Frost Giants' planet just so he could become king. I don't get this story at all, because his plan was to become king. So basically, if Odin went to the Odin sleep, and he let the Frost Giants in, and the Frost Giants kill Odin, I'm pretty sure with Thor banished, Loki could be king. Especially if he sent the Destroyer to find Thor and attempt to kill Thor. I'm pretty sure that would just work. So why exactly did he want to destroy the Frost Giants area? Why exactly was his master plan? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me, and it's just like the way the movie presents it, it's just trying to be smart, trying to keep you on your toes. But It's just constantly contradicting himself, where you think you know where Loki's going, he goes in the other direction, and it just makes no sense. And his character's not fleshed out at all. We know Loki as a character that we absolutely love from the Avengers on. He has this perfect character arc. But what happens with the Loki character is, in this movie, he's just a villain that's plot makes no sense. If he wasn't in any of the other movies, he would be one of the worst villains of all time. Fortunately, he's well fleshed out in the rest of the movies and is redeemed, I guess, in a big sense in the Avengers, but his plot makes no sense. In the Avengers, his plot is he wants to take over Earth so he can be king. That's what he wants in this movie, so why did he destroy the Frost Giant Kingdom? Again, if he just wanted to be king, it makes no sense. So the script is just absolutely unbearable. You don't buy into the romance. It is a very hard watch, what this movie is. And I just could not wait for it to get over. I was looking forward to rechecking it out, hoping that I still had the fun sense of it that I used to feel when I watched this movie. But I was just bored, and it is just a bad, bad movie. And it's by far my least favorite film inside the MCU on this rewatch so far. And it's by far going to be my least favorite film in Phase 1. Before I give you my final score for Thor, if you would, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, comment down below. Are you a person who likes Thor? I used to be. On this rewatch, I hated it. And with that said, Thor is a movie that has some cool visual effects. I like the performances. But overall, the script doesn't make any sense. The camera work is awful. It's just, it makes no sense. And it's one of the most bizarre movies inside of the entire MCU. With that said, Thor is going to get a D for me, and we move on to Captain America the First Avenger. Alright, Captain America the First Avenger is next in our road to Doomsday. I rewatched that one, and I'm excited to talk about it. And with that said, subscribe.